Hello, everyone. So today we are going to talk about what does healthy aging mean, which I think is so relevant, particularly for me anyway, as I'm hitting that age, right? The kind of nearing retirement age. So, you need to start thinking about what does healthy aging mean, Susan? And obviously we all know that healthy aging means eating right and exercising and diet. And we even know social connection is important for most of us. A lot of those things that's kind of in your area of expertise. But there's a broader area of healthy aging as well, which, I hadn't really thought about. So I thought that we should bring this up so that we can all
Yeah.
get ducks in a row, so to speak, so that we can age healthy.
Oh, and I think it's true. You're right. It's like I see a lot of people, and as we were talking and preparing this, we're thinking always, food, sleep, movement. Excuse me, I had a dry throat. And we're always kind of focusing on that. And I agree with you. Like we'd like to bring a broader aspect to that because yes, I would say those are foundations to
Yes.
aging well. But
Yes.
then there's other factors that we really need to bear in mind, right? And that's really kind of what we're going to look at today and hopefully give you some ideas to broaden your idea of what it really means, to age well and what are the factors that you could maybe start thinking of instead of just going down the sleep, nutrition, movement kind of pillars, right?
I totally agree. And there was some really interesting information out there about aging healthy. And one of them was, sorry, now it's me. One of them was the emotional flexibility and resilience, our ability to adapt as we get better. And I actually read that this is a really big issue. As we get older, we need to learn, like, the world is changing, right? For
We
me,
need
I keep
it.
thinking about, technology. I'm already so far behind. Where am I going to be? But learning to adapt, learning to, have resilience because things are changing, your circumstances are changing.
100%. Being open to it, right? This is
Yeah.
it. It's that openness because we see, I used to see, especially when I nursed, it's unfortunately sometimes as people get older, I think it's still happening now, but that's why we're talking about it, is our world gets smaller, right? We stop working, so we lose those social connections. Maybe physically we do get a bit more tired. So suddenly, instead of sort of saying, oh, well, I can't do that anymore. People just cut back and don't replace it with anything.
Uh,
And so their world gets smaller
like,
and smaller and smaller. And then that adaptability that we use when we work, that we use when we're social, we lose that skill,
yes, we
right?
do.
And we become this kind of cocoon of a person that as soon as you go out into the world, it becomes this big
Too much.
place. Exactly. And I think we're talking about adaptability, right? I think that's really what it is.
And the reality is that we have identity shifts as we
Yes.
get older, right? Kids leave home, we retire, you know,
Who
things.
are you?
And so
It's true,
we,
right? Who are you now?
yeah, who are you now? And so we need to be able to adapt to that and change. And research is showing is that more people who can adapt instead of hanging on or
Who
let
identity?
fear
Yeah.
hold them back, that the
Mm,
more we can adapt and step into that new place,
mm.
that they are do much better as they age. So really interesting with that
And
information.
I think with that comes the permission to, and I've listened to like a lot of, older ladies, some gentlemen too, but a lot of ladies that are in their 60s and 70s, when they've allowed themselves, when they've been open to do that, a lot of what I'm hearing is they are saying, I am the happiest that I've ever been.
I love it.
Because I've been able to let go of everything that doesn't matter anymore, right? I finally figured out what's important to me. So again, we go back to those foundations. I still have my health, I still have my mobility. Um, my brain is still functioning and I'm able to do and explore things that I never had the time to do before that maybe was perceived as like, I shouldn't be doing this because you are whatever you are in that role in your life, right? At that stage. And now you have this freedom essentially to be, who you want to be. But as we were saying, as long as you have that setup around you, right? And again, this is something that we were talking about, as long as you have that financial stability, because that can also be very limiting, right? If there hasn't been any preparation and any thought of what's going to happen when I retire, that could become an important stressor in your life.
Right.
Right?
All those practical things.
Yes.
I don't think we talk about that enough,
Mm.
especially as we're aging.
Yeah.
Or we look around at the people, the people who are getting older around us. But things like housing stability. What happens when you get older and let's say you're running out of funds, the housing stability, access to health care, what kind of community
You have
you have
around you.
around you. Those things are all really, those are huge stressors, which can do terrible things for not only your physical health, but your mental health and your ability to cope in the world and move around and, be able to feel safe.
So important. And this is it. I don't think we put enough value when we think of aging well. Like you were saying on social media, there is a lot of talk of, again, movement, food, sleep, but the actual social structural setup that you have, nobody really talks about that, right?
The
What
bigger
happens
picture.
if you're in a relationship and one of you dies earlier than the, like, what's that going to mean for you, right?
Yeah.
Um,
And that's the reality.
and it
That's
is at
get
one point it's going
older.
to happen, right?
Yeah.
So,
So how do you cope with that? Where,
yeah,
not that you want
exactly.
to anticipate somebody's passing. I sure as hell don't ever want
Gosh,
to
no.
anticipate my husband going, but the reality is one of us is going to go first. So what
Yeah,
happens to the next one?
yeah.
And, you need to think about their health and well-being,
This is
particularly for me, I would worry about the mental health.
it.
So, making sure you have your ducks in a row and making sure that you're getting yourself out there and being resilient. Another big issue was purpose and meaning.
Yes.
you know, um, Getting out there and finding meaning in the world. Um,
Especially if you've retired, right? Your identity for 30, 40 years is linked to your job,
yeah,
right? Suddenly, when you go to out, what do you do? Who are you? That's right. And suddenly you lose that, right?
yeah,
It's not there anymore. So who am I? Who do I? And I think, we should learn to embrace it and go, okay, that was a great chapter of my life. But now I have a part of my life where, hopefully, as we said, if those other basics are in place, so your financial, your health, you have age, you have access to healthcare, then you have that new foundation that you can say, okay, right, well, what do I choose to do? Am I going to learn a new instrument? Am I going to finish or do a degree that I've always wanted to do, but I never had time, right? This is like, now's the time to do it. Right.
yeah.
And like, I think it's that agility, right? It's that resilience and that just because I'm getting old doesn't mean I can't learn something new. You know that adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I think we should ban it. I really do. I'm like, oh my gosh, because so many
Um,
people can learn so many things, right? New neural pathways can be created till the day you die, like, unless there's some degenerative disease going on, but it's so
you have
important.
to have a reason to get up in the morning.
Exactly, right?
I like if you have
Get
no
my
purpose
lessons
and
in. I've
meaning.
got to, you
And
know,
I've seen that with some elderly people that I know that they have no purpose, they have no meaning, they're not
yeah.
out trying to find a life for themselves. And actually, this was interesting because I found some research that says many people decline emotionally after retirement because they have lost their identity, their structure, their purpose, and their connection. And so they've lost the reason to get up and connect really hard. I think another thing that we need to think about is our brain health. And
Yes.
that's kind of what you were talking about
Yeah.
there already is learning
Learning new things.
instrument. But we got to keep our brains
Oh
active.
my gosh.
And
Yeah.
in doing that, I also think with our brains is um, being out there in the community, being able to
Volunteering,
converse.
is it being part of associations? You have the time now, right?
Right. But I'm also
It's
thinking, Susan, from a point of, and I've seen this, whereas if you're not socializing enough, if you're not, working with your relationships and your family or whoever and the people around you that ability to small talk, that
Yeah.
ability to have conversation,
And
that
to
ability,
listen and to participate and kind of interact. It's true, it's a skill. And if like if you don't use it, you do lose it, right? Whatever the skill is, whatever the and like you, I've seen older family members and they just become like this cocoon of a person, and you just think, where did you go?
and that connects to resilience.
Yes.
Right, because if you're not putting yourself out there, you're not working those socialization skills,
Yeah.
and you're not using your brain to continue to learn and function and have purpose, right? You just really then when things happen, and I've seen this, when
Throws
things
you. Oh yeah.
happen, they're completely overwhelmed.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, I can't go, like you said, you can't go beyond my cocoon. So I've lost my resilience. I've lost my ability to deal with stuff. And
Mm.
so important to make force ourselves to get out there. Like go and grab a coffee somewhere and
Try
start
something
to
new. Try
chat
new
to
skill.
somebody next door.
Yeah. Yeah, this
You
is
know,
it.
it's funny story, Susan. So both my grandmother and my dad, total chatty Cathy's. And I remember as a kid, my grandmother, and she was such a fantastic lady, but she would get out there and it didn't matter where we went. There she was talking to everybody around her. And, and as a teenager and young adult,
You're like, oh my gosh,
I'm
please.
like, oh, and I can see these people like, I just want to get my groceries and go, lady. And of course she was always so proud of her grandchildren. So these are my granddaughters, and this is this. Um,
I love
and
those people.
I was so embarrassed. And my dad ended up being the same way. And again, I was like, oh Lord, please don't do that. And today I recognize how important that is to just sit and talk and communicate. And I'm happy to say that I think I've inherited that gene because as,
I think you have.
as
Because
I
we
get
can talk
older,
for hours. And this is it. It's that connectedness, it's that ability, you know, because I was talking to a family member who is becoming more, closed in the way that they're living. And they were saying, oh, but I have connection. I'm kind of, I have an iPad. I listen to things. And I said, yes, but the iPad can't talk back to you. It's not questioning you. It's not making you think, and you're not having this back and forth that you have when you have a connection with somebody, right? It's great to listen. Podcasts, love them, but this interaction, this is what matters,
I agree. And
right?
that's a whole nother podcast
Yeah.
episode is we got to get off our devices and we have to have real human to human contact.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started about, the dolls and whatever else weird crap is out there. But anyway, that's another topic for another day.
We're just hoping that out of this, we may have got you to think a little bit differently about aging well. And as we said, we're not saying that, the food, the movement, the nutrition aren't important. Of course, they are there, those foundations, but there are those
That
other
foundations. Those are the foundations.
those are the foundations. And then your other pillars would be, as we said, your access to healthcare, the financial aspect, the social connectedness, like your
Yeah.
ability to, I hate that word pivot, I think, because of COVID, but your ability to be agile
Yeah.
and flip and learn and be open to that, I think is probably some of the best skill sets that we can have as,
Absolutely.
as
Being
if we want to age
open that
well.
things are changing
Yeah.
and learn to be okay with that and then find your new identity
Yeah.
and be okay with that.
Yeah.
You summed it up beautifully,
Ah,
Susan. So
okay.
why don't we leave it at that? And we hope that you guys all learn something from that or can think about it differently. If
Yeah.
you have any other things to add, please add them in the comments. We
Yeah,
would
we'd
love
love
to
to hear from
hear
you
it.
guys.
If you think of anybody who might need to know this information, please forward
Yeah.
it to them. And we wish you all an awesome day.
Yep, we'll see you soon for another chat.
Take care.